Hi, this is Les-Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. We all know what the Indians did for themselves over the weekend against Minnesota. Nothing. They were, however, able to salvage the third game of that series against the Twins to put themselves 6.5 games back, with Detroit, Kansas City, and Toronto standing by. But they also lost something else. They may have lost their last chance to turn on some new fans. The Browns training camp opens next week, and the Browns, of course, will be the talk of the town. It's also possible that the tribe could be toiling in obscurity, a term I've never used before on this show. We've got a lot of people here to join you. We've got Dave Bacon and Chris Fedor. More Sports and Les-Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les-Levine, it's a Monday night, it's a brand new week. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les-Levine into our 23rd consecutive year, soon to be 24, and as always seen exclusively on cleveland.com. Also seen exclusively, Dave Bacon is with us, the pitcher, the former great pitcher. We've got some pitching questions to talk about later. How are you?
I'm all right. How about you?
I'm okay. I'm not ready to give up my prediction they'd be 14-3 in this next 17-game stretch, but starting 0-2 is not a good way to get it.
It will be a challenge, but the good news is the Tigers and the Royals, I mean, they need to beat up on the teams.
Doesn't matter who you beat, right?
Well, when you're playing the Tigers, the Royals, the Orioles, you need to beat them up, and they haven't done that very well this year.
Well, that's not true. We'll look at what the Tigers and Indians have done, but first let's take a look at the standings. Right now, after the weekend, Minnesota now a 6.5 game lead over the Tribe, Cleveland 11 games over the 500 mark, and who cares about the rest of that? Just make sure they show up and maybe win some games against Minnesota, for example. Here's the wild card standings right now. The Indians a little behind, just a half game, but these are the teams you have to concern yourself with. It's really it's a legitimate thing to do some scoreboard watching, but it's tough to figure out who you're supposed to root for. Or against.
Yeah. At this point in time, you have to win series.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that the first series.
And let the chips fall where they may. And
yeah.
A little disappointing there. It could have been worse. The Minnesota put themselves in a position with the bases loaded to score some runs at the end and put that game away, but they didn't. So the Indians still alive. I just don't like the way. I don't want to say they came out flat, but they didn't come with much verve. How about that?
They had the opportunity in that, they had the lead in the first game of the series. Bullpen gave it away, and then,
well, how about
they didn't get the pitching that they wanted from Trevor-Bauer.
Correct. How about Hand? Yesterday strikes out the side after routine error by Kipnis.
Yeah,
that's what he does.
Yeah, that's what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, no question about that. 216-575-0403. If you'd like to talk about anything, we got a busy night here. Chris Fedor will join us. Cavs made a move today that didn't surprise anybody. They waived J.R. Smith. Does he wind up with LeBron James in Los Angeles?
Well, people are reporting now that initially they said there was going to be some interest, and the latest is that league sources are telling the big NBA reporters that that will not happen.
Who are these NBA sources?
My guess is it's somebody from the front office of the team that is the news is about.
All right, let's take a look at the series preview versus the Tigers. That'll start in about an hour or so. The Indians have won over the Tigers eight times out of 9, and you see the numbers there, pretty impressive, 55 runs to 21.
That's one of the few teams that's in the bottom of the American League that they have beaten up on. They've struck, they lost 2 in a row to the Orioles. They lost 2 in a row earlier in the year to the Royals. You need to do that to the teams that are in the bottom of the league.
Well, the Indians have out-homered them 12-7, and since June 1st, let's take a look at what the Tigers have done, and the answer is not much. Tigers in this time since June 1st with a record of 7 wins and 27 losses. So that's not very good.
Yeah, those are the teams that you have to beat.
Yeah.
So you beat up on the guys that are at the bottom of the American League,
right?
And then you split with the good ones. And if you do that, you end up winning 67, 65, 67% of your games.
You know who said that the first time I ever heard that? Break even with the big boys and beat the snot out of the other guys. It goes back to Lou Boudreau.
That's because it makes perfect sense.
Right.
You're not going to beat a team like the Twins.
No.
One of your pitchers is going to have an off night. One of their pitchers is going to be on.
Exactly. Well, what are you thinking now? That the Indians should just concentrate on the wild card, or
oh no,
you can't break up the team at this point.
No, I don't think they will. I believe they may add a small piece. I think they may go out and try to get somebody like a Nick Castellanos, a right fielder for the Tigers. So keep an eye on Nick Castellanos tonight. If the asking price in prospects is not too high,
right,
I think they may do that. He's a rental. He's a free agent at the end of the year. That's not typically their MO.
Well, Detroit is so far away from
right.
contending. You would say normally they wouldn't trade within the division, but Detroit's 2, 3, 4 years down the road.
If they can get any type of prospect that they think can help them, they'll make that trade.
Right.
Because, and it would cost the Indians about $4.5 or $5 million for the rest of the year.
Well,
it's a prorated contract. This contract's right around $10 million, so it's probably on the lower side of $4.5.
Well, it makes you wonder if the Indians would spend that kind of money for the remaining 2 months of the season. Although they've done it before.
Yeah.
Jay Bruce comes to mind.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, in spring training, they said they may have a little bit of money to spend at the trade deadline, if they need it. This offense needs it.
This is an interesting time of the year. It's a total new trade deadline. You only get one. In the past, you could do waiver deals after.
Yep.
And I'm hearing from the experts that they expect a flurry of activity. I would have thought not, because more teams think they're in the hunt right now in that wild card. But the supposed experts are saying, no, it should be a flurry of activity in the next week or so.
What it forces a team to do is be very brutally honest with, are we really in contention?
Right.
Or are we hoping, thinking, and praying that we might get into contention?
All right, so let me ask you the question about being in contention. Is it worth getting to the wild card, even if it's the second wild card position where you play one game on the road? I know you'd rather make it as a division champ, but is it okay to be the wild card? I think so, because once you get there, who knows what will happen?
Right. Well, absolutely. And normally what you would say in past years is the Indians have the pitching that if the pitching gets hot, the starting pitching has been a little bit of a mess. And through no fault of their own, guys are hurt, guys are dealing, with leukemia. And if you would have told me that Kluber wasn't going to pitch much, Carrasco wasn't going to pitch much, Clevenger was going to be hurt, and they're still going to only be 6.5 games out of first place. Yeah. They're doing some things right.
You would take that, no question.
The offense needs to get a whole lot better, though. It's still not where it needs to be.
Am I wrong in thinking that Ramirez looks like he's coming out a little bit?
Yeah, the interesting thing Terry Francona said is he is barreling up pitches really well. The challenge now is they're going foul. I mean, he is hitting. Right. So again, those are minor adjustments that he's trying to go through to hit it. Yeah, to hit the ball in the zone when it's going to be put in fair territory.
The Tigers 7-27 since June 1st, so the Indians have 4 games in a row. 7:10 starts over at the Progressive for the next 4 days, and then Kansas City comes to town. No reason. I'm thinking, it's hard to say sweep, but I look at these teams and you wonder, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't you expect a sweep?
If you don't take 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, it's not good.
Right.
And the flip side of it is, the Twins can be beat. I know they're playing. The Twins have the next 10 at home. They're playing the Mets and the A's. I think it's Mets for 2, A's for 4, and then they have the Yankees. So the
Indians will have that after this run here in the next couple of weeks. But if somehow the Indians can gain some momentum and get close or even overtake them, that the rest of the way is a little bit different.
The one thing is Minnesota has a lot of young guys that haven't been in that position before, and you want to see how they play.
Has it ever happened that one guy has hit 5 consecutive home runs against another guy?
I have no idea, and I
wouldn't think the guy would be around that long.
I heard Trevor's explanation. Just he's hot. He said, and some people got offended because he said, he's going to cool off, and he could go 0 for 10 with 7 strikeouts the next time. He's absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, Max Kepler is picking up the ball and is recognizing whatever pitches Trevor-Bauer is throwing. He's like the Carnat. It's like fastball outside.
I don't think you mean he's looking at it. That ball looks like a beach ball.
Well, yeah, but he is seeing the pitch that's coming, and he is barreling it.
No question about it. 216-575-0403. Dave Bacon with us. Chris Fedor will join us a little bit later. We'll talk some Cavaliers when we get back. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine. New content posted each and every day. Your name and your thoughts can be aired right here on More Sports and Les Levine, which is seen exclusively on cleveland.com. We'll take a break and come on back with Dave Bacon. More Sports and Les Levine continues in a moment.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Birthdays for today, July 15th. Door is open, so close it. It's a big deal. Seen on the left, former governor of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura, born in 1951. John Stallworth, Damian Lillard, Derek Favors, and Tobias Harris, all born on the 15th of July. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Dave Bacon is with us. Dave, got an email here. I normally say, don't send me War and Peace. It's a little too long, right? But we'll make an exception. Try to condense it if you want me to read it on the air. This is from Ben. He says, over the past few days, I've heard and read that jersey sales already done will pay the salaries of Bryce Harper for 7 years and Aaron Judge for 3 remaining years of his contract. I see media people making outrageous claims every day, but this one seems more outlandish than most. It's nothing new to hear and see the media and others refer to gross revenue as profits in every business. My question is this: aren't all profits from the sale of team merchandise shared equally by 30 teams? I understood that to be true years ago. Did somebody change that? No, I think that's the way MLB works. I think I know that players get checks in spring training for a boatload of money.
One of them, it's for their likenesses. So the players union divvies up. I think the uniform sales is split between the players union and then. Right.
So for Bryce Harper to sign that outrageous contract, it's not getting paid off by necessarily. It doesn't. They don't get the revenue here and move it over here and pay the salary.
No, and you know. Do you know how many jerseys you'd have to sell to pay Bryce Harper?
It's a lot of jerseys.
It's a whole lot of jerseys.
Lindor gets a lot of jerseys sold too, nationally.
Yeah, what's not to,
He's the guy they got to promote. Baseball, MLB has to promote him.
Yeah, and they, I'm sure they will. Baseball's broke. I mean, there are 5 teams that can outspend their mistakes.
Right.
And if the commissioner really wanted a challenge, that's what he should have tackled.
Yeah. Well, when he was here, Rob Manfred was here, I don't know that anybody pressed him on they asked him about the DH and about robot umpires and stuff like that. What they didn't ask is how can a team like Cleveland compete with teams like New York?
Yeah, and I guess I get it. Not, the All-Star game isn't necessarily the forum to force that issue, but
no, there's no better one.
Well, yeah, I know. You're celebrating baseball, and this is not something to celebrate. Their system is archaic. It's broke, and he needs to find a way to fix it. If you want to go down as this great, commissioner of a sport,
right?
Find a way to make the teams equally share the revenue.
Sure. Don't even tell me that putting a runner on second base at the beginning of extra innings is the way to solve the game.
When the pitch clock,
four balls run on an intentional pass.
I mean, a perfect example is teams develop players, they grow and become superstars, and then go where you can't afford them.
You can't afford to keep them.
You can't. Not everybody is playing on an equal playing field.
And you even have heard for years that the Indians had control of Lindor for several years. Well, that several years is almost up.
Yeah,
and come on, you can't expect the Indians to pay $400 million.
No, and again, it's not a matter of the owner being cheap. It's not a level playing field. No. There's the Indians make in the neighborhood, say it's $40 million, and I don't know the exact numbers in local TV revenue. The Yankees make several $100 million. Yeah. It's that big of a discrepancy.
The Yes Network and all that.
They own it.
They own it, no question about that. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Also, the commissioner, I mean, he's got to deal with the DH and no DH. He's got to deal with stuff on the field. But again, thinking that putting a guy on second base and starting the inning, if you wanted to start a guy anywhere, I would start him at first, but I don't want to see that anyway.
Well, I get the idea is you're going to start with a runner in scoring position, and they've used it some. One of the minor leagues did it for a little bit.
Right.
And, okay, that's fine, but at the end of the day, you're still the biggest problem is the economic problem with baseball. There's 5 teams: the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, the Mets, maybe the Cubs. And that's about it. They can outspend their mistakes,
and they'll tell you.
And the commissioner's response will be, well, look at this team, and this team from the small markets that make it. But it's always a cyclical thing for them because when they go and spend and make a mistake, they can't outspend it. And the Yankees and the Red Sox continually can outspend it.
Which Cleveland can't. You make a mistake on a big money guy.
You're in
you make a mistake on Swisher and Bourne. It takes you 2-3 years to recover from that, if that.
And then you got to find some way to unload that.
Yeah, which the Indians did. The Indians front office obviously has done a good job over the years. I mean,
yes, it was a bad offseason for him, though.
It was a bad offseason. They still found some young pitchers.
Right, they're entitled to. You know what I mean? They're not going to. Again, they're human. They're not going to get it right all the time. They didn't get right with some of the guys they went out and got.
Well, it's not over yet.
It is. No, it's not over
by any stretch of the imagination.
Shot.
And so people say, well, the Twins play the bad teams too. Okay. 162 games in the season. You're gonna play your own guys 19 times a year in your own division.
And that's why it tends to even out, and the best team tends to win the division.
Absolutely. So you still have some hope?
Sure. Again, I didn't make. When I was talking to the players at the workout game, the 3 games that they're playing against Twins were big, no question about it. But there's still 80-some games left after them.
Each one counts the same.
Exactly. And, the Twins one is kind of 2 because, it's directly when the Indians win, Twins are going to lose. When the Twins win, Indians are going to lose. So it counts double. But, again, they didn't play poorly. Bullpen let them down a little bit. And if you ask Trevor-Bauer, I think he expected to pitch better.
Northfield Park, your home for live and simulcast racing every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Post time 6 p.m. Open early every day for simulcast action all over the world. The Bud Light patio parties every Friday through September. And you can stop by the outdoor patio every Friday night from 6 to 9 p.m. Enjoy the beer specials, the outdoor grilling, live racing, and a chance to win some great prizes, including cash. All at Northfield Park, where it's free admission, free parking every day. When we come back, we'll take a look at Madden, the Madden 20. We'll see how the Browns rated in that. Do you think it's high or low?
I think there's some skill position players that are going to be very high.
I think you've looked at the list.
I have not, but I
You
know
can
how
guess.
those things work.
Let's take a break. Dave Bacon with us. Chris Fedor a little bit later. More Sports and Les-Levine. Seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
No other company or product can match the features, benefits, and warranty of an authentic Nature Stone floor.
We had a horrible storm that flooded our basement,
We had to take out that nasty moldy carpet.
and we never want to have to go through that again. That's when we called Nature Stone.
And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your basement flooring again. Get Nature Stone installed by the end of July and save up to 50%. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Dave, let's check out you're the pitcher in the group here. Check out this How Come Quickie. How come the 8 warm-up tosses a pitcher throws between innings and the pickoff attempts in the game are not included in the pitch count totals? Explain that one to me.
They don't want to if you use the 8 pitches in between innings, they'd last 3. Starters would be pulled after 3-4 innings.
In the 8th inning, they say this is 173rd pitch.
Now the true answer would be because you're supposed to go about 80% and just make sure you don't.
Which they do.
Yeah.
And the what's more concerning on the pickoff attempt is not the pitch itself on the shoulder, but the turn. Mm-hmm. If it's a right-handed pitcher, you're worried about, because that's not the normal motion putting that emphasis on the shoulder. Let's turn our attention to the Cleveland Browns in football. The Browns opening training camp next Thursday, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's
You
already
excited
here.
about that? We
I'll
haven't heard that much. 3 months ago, we heard a lot about what's coming up, and now it's kind of silent.
Everybody kind of went off to rest up for the
Zero
grind
dark
that
30,
is
the
training
grind that
camp.
is.
Yeah, training camp.
Meanwhile, let me digress a minute. The fact that they're talking about 18 games in a season and players only being used in 16, that, for example, you've heard that that discussion.
I have.
For example, what you're telling New England Patriots fans, buy tickets for this game, but Tom Brady won't be playing because he's sitting out.
Well, you're doing that anyway by force. Season ticket holders have to buy the preseason.
I understand that, but I'm talking about in the regular season. Yeah, you tell Browns fans Baker-Mayfield's not going to play against so-and-so and so-and-so? Come on.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way that'll get approved. Because the other thing they want to do is they're going to want to play 18 and pay the players 16 game checks still. Remember, the bulk of their salary is game checks.
Sure, they're not getting paid for the exhibition games.
Yeah, and they're not going to. The players' union, they're not.
No way.
They're not going to go.
Even
for
if they
that.
paid them that percentage of what an extra 2 games is.
That
I mean,
ain't happening.
just think about that. You got a big game coming up, and you're going to have Drew Stanton starting in it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, think about it. What you're really putting the onus on is whoever has to make that decision. So what games are you going to sit your quarterback? You know,
you complain about clock management. You got a roster management situation here.
Yeah,
that can't possibly happen. But if they play the regular way, let's see who the top edge rushers are according to CBSSports.com. Von Miller, number 1 from the Broncos. Khalil Mack is phenomenal. Number 2 out of Buffalo. What is it, Buffalo University?
University of Buffalo, yeah.
Yeah. Cameron Jordan is number 3. There's Myles-Garrett. You wonder where he's been. Number 4. Campbell is number 5. DeMarcus Lawrence of the Cowboys, 6. Joey Bosa all the way down to number 7. Surprised by that?
Hadn't played a lot, so no, not really.
Yeah.
Clowney did not get a long-term deal done.
No, and he hasn't signed his
tender.
His tender, so they expect him to sit out all training camp.
Yeah. That's not a recipe for an edge rusher to pull something or strain something, is it?
That's a pretty good group of players there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and think about Myles-Garrett. I would think that this would be a really nice year for him. They finally got somebody
got some help for him.
And Vernon that can do it.
Yeah.
They got Richardson inside. You got Steve Wilkes, who's a little more traditional.
Right.
Although I did like Greg Williams. I still haven't figured out why we played a safety 35 yards off. But I digress from that.
It's the memorable moment of the Greg Williams era.
Yeah. You mean the safety in the Muni lot for the entire game?
Exactly. Well, nobody got by him.
Exactly. They just kept throwing underneath all day long.
And, never mind. All right, let's take a look. You a believer in Madden? Madden 20?
I haven't played Madden in a while, but I get what they're doing with that.
Let's check out the top 10 highest-rated Browns in Madden NFL 20. Here you go. Odell-Beckham is number 1. Myles-Garrett, Kareem-Hunt, although the Browns won't have him until 8 games into the season at least. Denzel-Ward, Joel-Bitonio, damarious-randall, Nick-Chubb, and then you finish it out with Jarvis-Landry, Sheldon Richardson, and Baker-Mayfield. Dave, when you look at this list, this is quintessentially what you're talking about when you say, boy, this team looks good on paper. I mean, you look good. You look at these guys, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and the really impressive part is the skill position players.
Right.
They're young. They're really talented.
And they're good.
They're gonna get better. I mean, that's none of the guys. Maybe Beckham is Beckham and Landry maybe are kind of what you would consider in their prime.
Right.
Everybody else is ascending. They're still climbing.
Who did you say, Randall and who, Bitonio?
No, Randall and Beckham.
Oh, why not put Bitonio in the veteran category?
Yeah, but again, he's still 4 or 5 years in. So and he's a lineman. So
216. Yeah, they've got long shelf life.
Hurt.
Yeah.
Well, he's hurt a couple times.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Dave Bacon is with us, and we're going to check in. Chris Fedor, who covers the Browns or the Cavaliers, will join us when we get back. Let's take a break. You can also contact us on the voicemail of Truth and Reason. If you can't call during the show, which is done live from 6 until 7 p.m. Eastern Time. By the way, we're getting emails from all over the country now, which is why I'm saying Eastern Time, so everybody can check in. And you can archive it at any time, but if you want to leave a voicemail for us, not War and Peace, but the voicemail of Truth and Reason is 216-200-6650, 216-200-6650. And I have to remember, and I'll remind you, if we go to one of these voicemail of Truth and Reason, you have to wait till the guy stops. We can't argue with him if he's on tape. But the thought is there to try to do that. Yeah, hold on, sir, hold on. I can't hold on, I'm on tape here. Let's take a break. We'll come on back in a moment. Chris Fedor joins us exclusively on cleveland.com.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family cool this summer,
let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at 440-449-HEAT.
Let's take a look at this date in sports history. 1973, July 15th, Nolan Ryan of the California Angels pitches his second no-hitter of the season. Think about that.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a different era. I bet you went over 100 pitches, too.
Including, in addition to his 8 warm-up tosses. What if a pitcher would say, I don't need the warm-up tosses, let's go, I want an extra 3 innings out of this?
They could do that. They can do that.
Never seen it done.
No. I have seen where they'll cut it short. They'll take like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Who invented 100 as the number? Who said, I mean, as much analytics as there is, and as much athletic training there is, I think 100 is a made-up number.
I think it's probably a, I don't know, made up. I think what it is, they did their analytics studies, and they noticed that after 95, 100 pitches,
right,
velocity goes down, location goes down, and then it got to be, but you know, they started doing that even in college and high school.
Tell me when they stopped having the next day's pitcher chart pitches. They don't do that anymore, obviously.
No, because everything is video. You know, you go back and you watch it on video. They'll get like a tablet and they'll go and look, and it's the same thing. What you're trying to find out is location, speed, pitch,
right.
And the idea behind doing it was to make sure that the starting pitcher was paying attention,
exactly,
and understood how they were pitching him and how they were getting him out.
All right, a little activity with the Cavaliers today. Chris Fedor from cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer with us. Chris, there you are. Hello, Christopher.
Here I am. What's going on? How are you?
How did you do in the Jimmy Hanlon Ryder Cup?
So we took 3rd place, tied for 3rd.
Nice.
We finished, 4 strokes off the winner?
Well, they're still tallying my team's score, which so a little action today. Dave Bacon is with us. Chris Fedor, Cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. Chris, J.R. Smith released or whatever. What is the wording and what does it mean?
So the wording, technically less, is waived. That means that he goes on waivers, and then until Wednesday at 5 o'clock, a team has a chance to claim him. That's not going to happen because the contract is not one that a team would claim. So Wednesday, 5 o'clock p.m., J.R. Smith will become an unrestricted free agent, and he'll see if there's any team out there that's interested in J.R. Smith player. For the last couple of months, the Cavs were trying to figure out if anybody was interested in J.R. Smith's contract, because it was a unique contract. It was partially guaranteed. It gave a team an opportunity to create some cap space going into free agency. According to my sources, the Cavs had offers. They had many offers to J.R. Smith, but ultimately they decided that the value of the pick that they were going to get back in return, combined with the exorbitant contract, the bad contract that they would have had to take as well as part of that deal, just wasn't worth it at this point in time. So the Cavs decided to go a different direction. They waived and stretched him, and because they stretched him, that means the guaranteed portion of his contract is going to be spread out over the next 3 years, guys, and that allows the Cavs to stay below the luxury tax going into this season.
Chris, is LeBron James into the Lakers front office? Is he doing some lobbying for J.R. Smith, or are those days over?
From what I've heard, he is not. From what I've heard, J.R. Smith is not an option for the Los Angeles Lakers. So I've been trying to come up with any other team that maybe makes sense for J.R., and you would think if he does go to a place, because he's been one of the worst players in the NBA over the last 2 years, even before the Cavs decided to exile him. So he's not a great teammate, and he hasn't been a great player over the last 2 years. I just don't know how many teams are going to be lining up to try and sign him. So I would think he would have to bank on somebody in the NBA having a relationship with him and going to the front office and saying, similar to what LeBron said when David Griffin traded for J.R. Smith back in 2015, I got him, I'll take care of him. I just don't know who that player is if it's not LeBron.
Chris, Dave Bacon, got to ask you, are you surprised at all how guys are pairing up, and we've got now these two-player super teams that are kind of encompassing the entire league. And then along with that, does that make Kevin Love maybe that much more attractive to a couple of additional teams who might be looking for that third guy to pair with these two-team superstars now?
So I'm not surprised. I guess I'm partially surprised that we've gone from an era of the big three to if we feel like we have two superstars because it's too tough to get a third superstar because of the cap situation. That's a little bit surprising to me. But at the same time, like, this is, as much as LeBron James' legacy is going to be one of the greatest players of all time and the guy who delivered a championship to Cleveland and has 3 titles now, his legacy is also going to be tied to what he's done for the players. He's empowered players. He's given them a say in their lives and in their careers. And before LeBron made the decision to leave Cleveland for Miami in 2010, you just didn't see it to this particular level. You saw it, sure, it happened, just not to this particular level where all these different players, if they're a superstar, they feel empowered to try and get a trade, or they feel empowered to make a decision to go somewhere else in free agency. In terms of Kevin Love, I mean, when it comes to the Cavs and their stance on Kevin, it has not changed. If they get blown away by an offer for Kevin, of course, they will consider it. They have to. They'd be foolish not to, because where they are in this particular rebuild and where Kevin is in his life and his career, it doesn't align perfectly. But I think that kind of deal, guys, is more likely to happen at the trade deadline in February, if it even does. Because one, that allows Kevin to do the intangible things that the Cavs value. He can take pressure off Darius Garland and Colin Sexton and Kevin Porter Jr. and Dylan Windler. He can set the tone for the team. He can set the culture for the team. He can teach all those guys how to be a pro. He can probably flourish in John Beilein's system that's going to center on Kevin. And he's probably going to get better opportunities in terms of shots than he did last year, because the Cavs are going to have a more talented roster. At least the belief is they're going to have a more talented roster, because Colin's going to be 1 year older and Darius Garland is going to be here and some other guys are going to be here. So that could theoretically allow Kevin to boost his trade value a little bit, because he's coming off a year that was a terrible one for him. He didn't play, and when he did play, his numbers weren't very good. So I think everything points to the Cavs, if they do move Kevin, and I'm not saying that it's something at their top of the list of things that they want to do, but if they do, I think February trade deadline makes more sense, because you're also going to have a team maybe that's out there thinking, hey, we really have a shot to compete for a championship, and Kevin's the guy who takes us from a good team to a great team.
Chris, let me turn back to what you said about the players being empowered and all. If the owners did what the players have done, you'd hear the word collusion all over the place. But when the players do it, it's just something you accept, even though they're more powerful at doing that than the owners would if they were, in fact, colluding.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think more fans are going to side with players than owners, because I think it's easier to side with millionaires instead of billionaires. and I think when it comes to business and in life, like, right, you want to, like, obviously you have bosses and things like that where they're going to control a lot of what you do. But at the same time, you have your own choices to make in life too, when it comes to which high school you're going to go to, college you're going to go to, and stuff like that. So I get that fans may not like the fact that these players can get out of their contracts at certain points when they're under contract. But I think because of who they are and the status that they've reached in this particular profession, I think that's just the reality of the situation. And I like the fact that players are in control of what they're going to do in their lives and in their careers. I think it should be that way.
Do you think, Chris, do you think it's a good thing for the league that the players are kind of doing that? Because obviously there's some really appealing places to play and live and some that aren't quite as appealing.
Sure. And I understand where you're coming from, Dave, and I think it makes sense. I don't know that this means because we had this shift in a lot of these changes in free agency, like I don't know that this means that all of a sudden some of these small market teams are out completely. You know what I mean? Like I think that's the conclusion that a lot of people are going to. But look, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant didn't pick the big team in New York. They picked the other team in New York, the quote unquote other team in New York. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George didn't pick the big team in Los Angeles, the Lakers, the main one. They picked the other team in Los Angeles, the Clippers. And just last year, Paul George, before he decided to get out of Oklahoma City and go back to Los Angeles, which is his home, he chose Oklahoma City. They traded for him and they gave him a chance to say, hey, this is what we're all about. This is what it's like to play with Russ. And then Paul George, at that time, signed on with Oklahoma City. So I think there are other things that go into whether a guy is going to go somewhere either in free agency or he's going to request a trade to a specific place. Money plays into it. Role is going to play into it. Location's going to play into it because that's just life. But I think there are other factors involved as well. And I think if you do things the right way, as Brooklyn did, and you establish a culture, Brooklyn was more appealing than the New York Knicks. When's the last time you thought that was going to happen? So,
one thing, what's happened here in the last couple of years is when LeBron was here in Cleveland, the East was clearly the better, I think, had more franchises that were good. And they really turned that around quickly with LeBron moving to LA and then other players following suit. So you've got to change, and you got a whole bunch of average or less than average teams left in the East. Cavaliers would have to improve just to be average, but they have shifted the talent level at this point. The other thing I think the NBA might be concerned about is so many super teams and super players out on the West Coast, and the average fan on the East Coast won't stay up at night to watch all these teams. Is that something they're worried about, or do they just care that they've strengthened those markets you talked about?
I think all those things matter, and I think you saw based on the ratings this past year, Les, LeBron thought him going to Los Angeles was going to be enormous for the NBA, and he goes to the tradition-rich Los Angeles Lakers, but those things that you brought up happened. They play at 10:30. They're out on the West Coast, and fans on the East Coast aren't going to stay up and watch Los Angeles Lakers games and things along those lines. I think the NBA has a lot of things that they're quote-unquote concerned about. I think when it comes to free agency and this sort of thing, it's more about how fast the deals got done and the fact that free agency became what it became this past summer, as opposed to what the NBA was hoping that it would become.
Chris,
and I don't think there's any way to stop the tampering, but I think the NBA is concerned about that.
All right, we got to move along, but we appreciate your insight in helping us out and understand what J.R. Smith all means, and if the Cavaliers can somehow make do with whatever happened here today.
Sounds good. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. And I was on the phone with people earlier today, talking to as many people as possible. It's confusing.
All right, Chris Fedor, cleveland.com, and of course the Plain Dealer. Thanks, Chris. Have a great night.
Yep, you got it.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Sokolowski's University Inn. That's a reason why free agents should come here. They get to go there for lunch 11 to 3, or Monday through Friday, or Friday and Saturday nights for dinner, just like people have been doing since 1923, heading toward that 100-year mark. How many businesses can make that statement? Sokolowski's University Inn, Cleveland's oldest family-owned and operated restaurant, winner of the James Beard Foundation Award. When we come back, we'll check out the Facebook question of the day and your responses to that. Dave Bacon is with us. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
No other company or product can match the features, benefits, and warranty of an authentic Nature Stone floor.
I had an epoxy-based sand paint on my floor that deteriorated, and that's why I called Nature Stone.
Why paint? It's expensive, it's ugly, and it doesn't last. Nature Stone is always affordable. It's beautiful, and with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your garage floor again. Get Nature Stone installed by the end of July and save up to 50%. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Dave, let's take a look at this date in Les-Levine history. 1968, Marty, a fraternity brother of Les, is fixed up with a date. The girl comes out of the elevator, sees him, and says, "Are you Marty?" And he says, "How soon do you need to know?" And he ran for the nearest exit sign. I know that's shallow, I understand that, but it's a true story. I can't make up something. Well, I can, but I wouldn't make up something like that. Let's check out our Facebook question of the day. We want to know if you, this is a weekly question, would you trade Trevor-Bauer? Let's take a look at what Glenn Berger says. "I'd trade Bauer for right-handed hitting, an outfielder like Austin Riley of Atlanta or Clint Frazier of the Yankees." Trent Harrop says, "Let the sideshow indecisiveness out of the way, clap for him and on to the next one. Front office has a new star waiting." I don't know who that would be. Carl St. John says, "Yes, I'd trade him. He's even said this is the time to do that." Brandon Buckley, "The Indians lineup is so average." Oh yeah, I would make that trade. So would Rick May, having a deal with his contract, having to deal with his contract negotiations every year would just be exhausting. Try to get an outfielder with some power and hope that a return to complete health for Kluber and Clevenger and Cookie will make up for Bauer's absence. Barbara Mooney says, "Indubitably." I'm not sure that's spelled correctly, but I get the point. It's too late to trade for CC Sabathia. Is it too late to trade for CC? Straight up, I would make that trade yesterday. Danny Foreman says, "The crystal ball says yes, most definitely." This is the story that changes all the time. If we ran it every week, you'd get different responses all the time. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Dave Bacon is with us. So what do you expect from the Indians? The trading deadline, 31st of July, 2 weeks from now. Stand pat? Buy, sell? What do you think? Or do we have to wait till the 30th to make that decision?
I think you have to get a sense of where they're at and probably more importantly how they're playing. They definitely need a bat. I don't necessarily know that they'll trade Trevor Bauer or Brad Hand. They're in a really the front office is in a really tough spot.
Well, here's the other thing that you don't think about. If you want to break up the team, that's fine. But if you understand why this team has gone in the direction they're gone, if you decide that you still have the right players, you can win next year. Mm-hmm. You don't have to break them up this year, and then you could keep them somewhat intact, make some changes somewhere along the line, but don't throw away the chance to win in 2020.
No, but the challenge there isn't a corner outfielder in their system that has a big-time power bat. That's one of the things that's lacking.
They tried Carlos Gonzalez,
right? But
Hanley Ramirez.
I mean, developmentally there's kind of a hole, and that's what happens. The power bat is in the Yankees that they may trade back for is Clint Frazier and Francisco Mejia.
Do you think they made a mistake on Bobby Bradley?
I just don't know that he was. I think they knew he wasn't quite ready.
Right. Fans thought he was.
Yeah. Well, the fans are just looking at the numbers, and the Indians player development people are really good. I mean, look at how ready pitchers are when they bring them up.
Right.
They've gone through a couple. Plesac, Savali. These guys came in and pitched really well. There's a reason that they were leaving Bobby Bradley down in AAA when he had 18, 19 home runs. It has to do with the approach and how he's working, how he's getting his pitch to hit.
It's interesting that Savali came up for one pitching attempt.
Well.
And did well, but that was just the plan, one and done. Mm-hmm. Whereas Plesac, they knew he'd be up here for a while.
Right. My guess is Savali's secondary pitches don't play as well.
Right.
and
what's
his
around to it.
control. And the other thing is his control probably isn't as good. One thing about Plesac can locate in, out, up, down. He locates his fastball really well.
Right. But he's only, at this point, only has 2 pitches.
Right. And his command of his secondary pitches isn't great. But those are, for a guy that's just starting out, if you locate your fastball, you can win in the major leagues.
Absolutely. Bud Shaw will join us tomorrow night. D-Man Dennis Maniloff on Thursday. I don't know about Wednesday yet, but we shall see. We'll come back. We'll take a look at some emails and how come quickies that have been sent in. You can catch the excitement of live harness racing at Northfield Park, and you can do that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Open early every day, at least at noon, for simulcast action from all over the world. The weekly Sunday contest is coming up with the top prize, $500 each week. That's in cash. Lady Luck's Clubhouse open every Saturday. The buffet just $15.95. Special pricing on premier nights. Free admission, free parking every day. That's at Northfield Park. Dave Bacon and I return one more time. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
No other company or product can match the features, benefits, and warranty of an authentic Nature Stone floor.
We had a horrible storm that flooded our basement.
We had to take out that nasty moldy carpet.
And we never want to have to go through that again. That's when we called Nature Stone.
And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your basement flooring again. Get Nature Stone installed by the end of July and save up to 50%. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
As I mentioned, Bud Shaw from WKYC.com will join us tomorrow night. You see us live from 6 until 7 p.m. Eastern Time exclusively on cleveland.com, and you can archive us any older show or yesterday's show, whatever you want to do. You think most people know how to do that, right?
They can find it on cleveland.com.
Unless they're my age.
Yeah, they'll figure it out.
Even I'm learning how to do that. It's, I get emails from people saying they don't know how to do it. It is very, very simple.
Yep.
No question about it. All right, time for some, you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine, with new content posted each and every day, and you can get your name and sometimes your picture on the show when you have a comment that we air. We usually air 7 to 8 per night. We also check in with our How Come Quickies. Cleveland Bill says, how come people say they are overwhelmed or underwhelmed, but they're rarely just whelmed? Can't answer that, can you?
I got nothing for that one.
You're not whelmed by that?
I'm not whelmed.
Mr. Gullible, how come I bought a neck brace and I've never looked back? How come my picture was framed so they sent me to jail? It's the usual plea that I was framed. And we have John Patrick, who is now whittled down. Instead of the daily double, he's down to 1.
Okay.
It's a pitch count. He's
exactly.
into the 7th inning right now.
He's exhausted.
Do you think that's easy to come up with 2 How Come Quickies a night?
That's over 100 pitches.
It is, but this one's a good one. How come skydivers are good to the last drop? I've always thought the fall doesn't kill somebody like that. It's a sudden stop.
It's landing.
The landing. He sticks the landing. All right, got a minute or two to spew.
Well, Danny Salazar is scheduled to make his next start, Double-A. The Rubber Ducks are on the road in Erie, so he's going to be starting for them in Erie is the plan tomorrow night. And again, he's 94 with his fastball, touching 94, mid-90s, 92, 93. That was only his third start. Had 2 in Arizona, 1 at Akron. If he gets back, and I know, again, it's a big if, and everybody's expecting to hear there's been a setback, but if he gets back to the level that he was close to in 2017, it's like adding. Well,
it's a treasure.
It's like adding potentially the best starting pitcher on the market into your rotation.
Yeah,
and the Indians that rotation is due for some good fortune with what it's been hit with.
No question about that. You mentioned the Rubber Ducks, and I want to mention Mitch Longo from Mayfield. I know his dad, Mark Longo, went to fantasy camp with him. He can still hit at fantasy camp, and he's the hottest player on their team. Hopefully he'll advance. I'd like to see that happen.
He's got a younger brother that's playing for a team in the Mid-American Conference too, and I think
Mitch went to OU.
That's I think that's where it is.
And the brother goes there also.
He goes to OU.
So I'd like to see him rise through the organization, but he's hot as a firecracker right now. So, all right, 2 weeks till the trading deadline. We mentioned it earlier. I think it goes to the end to see what they are, buyers, sellers, whatever. Although they don't want to get tricked into thinking something that isn't really there, because they should, in the next 10, 15 games, they should do very well. If not, who knows?
But there's 2 things. Trevor Bauer's value is never going to be higher than it is at the trade deadline, because you have teams that are in contention that have needs. The Yankees need a pitcher. The Astros need a pitcher.
And they get his contract, which is good through next year.
Right. Well, they have team control.
Yeah.
But that also figures into it, because he's going to arbitration.
Yeah, he'll make $19 million.
$20 million, which again counts against, that's not affordable for what the Indians' structure is.
But they have depth in the pitching department.
They do. And if you trade him, you want an outfield corner power bat. Somebody like
who can
Clint
play
Frazier.
right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
You need somebody who's major league ready. You also need a starting pitcher who's pretty much major league ready, and then a pretty good prospect. That's what I think they should be looking for.
If you could get a third baseman, I'm talking next year now. If you get a third baseman, you could move Ramirez back to second.
They do have a pretty good third baseman in their system, Nolan Jones. He's still probably another full year in the minors away.
Okay.
I think he just got bumped up to Akron right after the All-Star break. He played in the Futures game.
Right.
Power hitter, 20 years old, has done really well in his first couple of years. That's the coming power bat. He's a third baseman, Nolan Jones.
Do we assume that Jason Kipnis is in his final year with the Indians?
I would think so.
$13 million this year, not obviously a free agent, but maybe there's not a history of taking a guy like that and cutting him in half and just still trying to sign him.
No,
but guys like that will be happy to take that somewhere else.
Right, and he may want to stay here and be willing to do that. The challenge is Jason hasn't been hitting the ball like he did.
Looked like
3 years ago.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, it looked like he was coming around.
Yeah, and you never know. He's not in the lineup tonight, so I don't know if he's banged up or Freeman's starting at second.
Made a horrible error last night.
Yeah, and again, he might, he's getting to where you don't want him playing 7 days a week.
Right, exactly. All right, that'll do it for us. Great job, Dave Bacon, as always. We appreciate it very much. Bud Shaw tomorrow night, 6 to 7 Eastern Time. 6 to 7 p.m. is when you see us live, but you can archive us all day and all night. We'll see you tomorrow. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.